Thank you very much, everyone, for joining and participating in this panel discussion, Intangible Heritage for Recovery and Resilience. It is a collaborative project, so we are a research team, and this research team is been working on the main project, which is towards mobilizing intangible heritage for recovery and resilience. Basically, last year, one of the last in-person proper conference, which I was invited to, with Alejandra, Deria, Zeynep, and Marlon, we proposed a seed project, basically, to the Royal Academy of Engineering, the Frontiers for Development programs, and which was successful, fortunately. With their research collaborators, Bluefish Consulting, Leila, and Rohit from Kathmandu Valley Preservation Trust, we have been working on the project since then. The project case studies are Nepal after the earthquake in 2015 and the Tunis case after the Arab Spring in 2011. We all, know about what is cultural heritage, the practices, the rituals, the religious ones, or dances, or vernacular knowledge of traditional methods and craftsmanship. And to very some extent, we know that there's a general acceptance that intangible heritage is helpful for the well-being of community, but there is a gap, basically, in research field, to a gap on the multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary research to examine how this potential tool can be mobilized for a better recovery, for a better resilience, getting back to a better normal after something happens. So as you saw in the poster, the panel initially, Professor Chris Ballard from the Australian National University, Australia, also working with UNESCO on nominating World Heritage Sites, and he's an anthropologist and archaeologist. Professor Joycie Alegre from the University of Philippines, and she's a co-founder of the Samar Heritage Society, Inc. in Tacloban, Philippines. And Dr. Mounir Sabeh Affaki from the University of Coimbra, Portugal. So this was the initial plan, but sadly, yesterday, this panel and the research team for this panel, we faced an emergency ourselves, because Chris contacted me, and he lost his brother 24 hours ago, and his mother is now in the hospital for COVID, and he asked me to send everyone his apologies, and I'm sure that we share, and I already sent him our collective condolences for his loss, and it's very much understandable. The contingency plan is that we will have Joycie's talk, and we will have Mounir's talk, and we also will have some findings out of the Tunis case study from our research to share with everyone, to keep the discussion going, because one of the objectives of our project is to create a network of interested and multidisciplinary scholars and practitioners. So this is the plan. Hopefully at some point I hope that we can have Chris to have basically his input, because I also know the title of his presentation. Just a few housekeeping matters. Please mute, everyone, please mute, only, so we all can hear speakers' presentation. And we will have the presentations first, and then after the presentations, we will go for the comments and questions, and it's more of an informal discussion. And we hope that the input that all participants have can also help us for the research. You can either raise your hand and just ask the question, or give your comment, verbally, and turning on the video as well. And either you can text, you can write in the chat box, and that's it. I think hopefully we have time. We can be on time. So without further ado, Joycie, I would like to give the virtual floor to you and invite you to share your insight on the case that you already have the experience on working on that, not only as an academic, but actually as a local community and advocate for heritage. It will be great.
Sorry for interruption. So are we gonna make Leila the first or later?
We start with Joycie, we continue with Mounir, and Leila will share the finding of our research as the last presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so I will stop sharing, and so Joycie can share. Thank you.
Hello?
We can hear you. Hello, thank you.
Okay. First, I would like to thank very much Dr. Farnaz Arefian for this invitation, as well as the research team for putting all of together this forum, which is a very special forum, especially at this time of the pandemic. And we will need some kind of conversations like this. So thank you very much. And Farnaz, thank you for extending the invitation to my colleagues in the latest Summer Heritage Society. Some of them might be in here, and if they're not, well, I will just echo what I'm sharing with you. Tonight, it's evening in the Philippines, here in Tacloban City. It's morning at your end in London. So I'd like to say good evening, good morning to all our participants from all over the world. Thank you very much. I feel so honored to be listened to and to interact with you all today. The title of my presentation is The Making of New Rituals for Healing and Recovery in Super Typhoon Yolanda, Haiyan Post-Disaster Ground Zero. I refer to the ground zero now as post-disaster because it's been 8 years since we had landfall. We had Haiyan that struck Tacloban City, which is the very center of the Haiyan super typhoon, locally known here as Yolanda. I would like to dedicate my presentation to Reverend Father Hector Villamil, with whom I worked closely during the engagements at the time of relief and recovery. And he has passed away only last June. So a moment of silence for Reverend Father Hector Villamil. This is also a tribute or in remembrance of the victims of Yolanda. The 8th anniversary of the Yolanda disaster or Haiyan disaster last November 8th this year. Here is my overview. I would just like to mention these highlights. I have this narrative, I have a series of photographs in this slideshow, but the highlights have to do with my perspective as a survivor. I was in ground zero, although I live in high ground. So I will be sharing with you my perspective as a survivor, as a mother, as a friend, as an academician who is interested in culture, and also as an artist. Other than that, also as a social advocate. Number one here in the orange box is November 8, 2013. That was the day that the super typhoon Yolanda or Haiyan struck the Philippines, mainly our region, Eastern Visayas, the eastern seaboard of the Philippines. And secondly, I will be going through the narrative by looking at the aftermath. And you'll be looking also at the spaces that I've created through the photographs as our shared spaces and time for grief and mourning during the most difficult period of Yolanda disaster. And we would be involved in the negotiating of rituals for the dead in a government and non-government organization and community partnership we call the Haiyan, the Dayao Program for Healing of the National Commission for Culture and the Arts. Then there would be negotiations between the Christian practices and the indigenous practices. I will be pointing that out to you midway through the narrative. And the highlight would be this turning point, the 40th day, remembering those who perished. We call that Ika-40, the 40th day. It is part of the funeral cycle, the cycle for mourning, for grief. There is also another cycle we call the Tagmo in the Waray language, the Filipino Waray language, which is the 1 year cycle of remembering. It is called a Tagmo. And the action of pagtayok. We are now at the right side of the screen. There is the local term pagtayok, candle lighting as one community of survivors. This is going to be the focus of the rituals that I would be referring to and sharing with you. And I have this concept of disasterscape as sacred, that the entire landscape, or in our case, islandscape, because we are an island community, inter-island community of the Philippines. I refer to this notion of disasterscape as sacred. It has been sacralized. And just last week, November 8, 2021, is the 8th year of the commemoration. We refer to that as another remembrance. Pag hinumdum na liwat. Again, we remember. And what would be most interesting in the course of this narrative, until recently, only when was November 8? Was it Friday? Okay. My recent data were taken from my tour of the city last Friday during the commemorative event. And this is what I'm sharing with you now, my realization, this insight on the creativity and spontaneity of survivor communities. So I will be showing you breezily, okay? The first part is just an introduction about our location in the context of the world. You see here our beloved home planet Earth taken from Apollo 17. That's the Antarctica down there. Perspective from the moon side. And you will see the world map, the right circle on the right. Okay, the red circle on the right, adjacent to the Pacific Ocean. From the Pacific Ocean, the name Pacific Ocean move going. This is the west side of the Pacific Ocean, southwest. Okay. That's the Philippines, tiny archipelago between Australia and the mainland North Asia. Okay, where is Samar Leyte, our region? There you are, eastern central part of the Philippines. This central area is referred to as the Visayas. Okay, and those yellow islands there, all right, inset, that's Eastern Visayas. So you see Tacloban City, the black and green dot. That's where I am right now. Greetings from Tacloban City. This is the latest Samar Islands joined by the San Juanico Strait, right? And between it is the San Juanico Strait. It is joined by the San Juanico Bridge. I live at the other side there. Okay, this is from the point of view of Samar Island. I live in Leyte. So we're looking at the inter-island world, wealth of land and waters, bahandihan tunang ang katubigan. We are rich, our waters are rich, you can drop the net and pull and you get fish even every day. Of course, there are issues like dynamite fishing and climate change. But still we do that. This is a fishing coastal community and farming also. Our fertile lands provide with us the necessity. We are rich in root crops. You have here the crops, okay, vegetables, local vegetables, fish, seafood, very fresh. We have primacy for freshness, and these are our local delicacies. And the favorite beverage which is coconut hadi tuba. Have a guitar and we sing and celebrate. And we are known to be mat weavers of the finest kind. Very colorful mat weavers from this part. Therefore, our culture, with all of this kind of an environment and cultural expressions, we are known to be very exuberant, merry mirth, a very happy people. So we love to dance. This is the traditional kuratsa, and this is my dance company. Never mind. My friends, so they're all married and we have children now. But this is the Leyte Kalipan Dance Company, world famous until now. It's existing under the leadership of our nonagenarian ballet instructor. And this is a performing arts group that I organized with a background that is Samar Island, okay, and the sea, the sea between Samar and Leyte San Pedro Bay. Faith, expression of faith is very pronounced. The Santo Niño or the child Jesus, okay, Holy Infant Jesus, okay, Santo Niño in his silver vestments, and this is the fluvial procession. So it's a very vivacious, very, very alive, okay, kind of culture. We have 3 festivals during the fiesta. We are the only city with 3 festivals. This is the Festival of Lights, and this is part of the Kasadyo. And every community has a festival, street dancing and dancing on stage. But we have that kind of a very, very vibrant community, but we were threatened with this. Look at the spiral there. We have the anatomy of Yolanda over the Philippines, directly above Samar and Leyte. There, it is the largest and strongest typhoon. There, the eye of the storm, landfall in Giwan, Samar. We were all shocked. We all grew up with typhoons every year, like 20 typhoons in the Philippines every year. But this was something else, with the spiral winds and the surge from the sea. For the first time after 100 years, we never knew about the past surges. There, we go fast. And this is part of the Tacloban City. Betwixt, this is a peninsula at the airport. Betwixt this is the devastation from the air. You can see how ravaged it was. The coconut trees were very rich with coconuts. The people have a livelihood based on coconuts, the production of coconuts. So it was a nightmare. My gosh, look at this. I will be quiet for a while and let's just go breezy. There were 10 ships that were cast ashore. They ran to the sea, to the shore. Oh, that was a shock for the people in the communities, and those who were hit by the ships, of course, perished. These are the houses. So that was really painful. Kasakit, the pain of loss. How do we deal with this? Our beloveds have drowned. There are dead bodies among the debris and death all over, the stench of death all over. This is a coastal community, so shoreline villages, all ruined, wrecked, houses washed ashore. Okay. Sorry for these scenes, but this is real, already well ordered. People were confused. What happened? What brought this? What fate this was for all of us? And there was looting, and there were relief. Where would you go? Go looting for food and medicine? Line up, queue up for the relief, or search for the beloved? They are dead. Many have died. I have a close family friend whose family members died, 11. And there is a family in Palo Leyte with 21 members gone. Members of the family, both young and old. As the looting, early period of the disaster aftermath. Long queues to collect food and water, so what can one do? And here, there were stories of missing dead bodies and unnamed, unidentified. The government could do much. There was not much protocol for the dead or management of the dead. Our last bastion was faith. You will see here women, mothers carrying religious images. The practice of faith is devotion to the deities that we believe in, a largely Catholic community. This is the Palo Cathedral that was recently rehabilitated, just rehabilitated, but Yolanda winds took off, blew off all of the roofs. Still, people remained steadfast in their faith. And amidst that, I got involved in a government project, the Dayaw Festival for Indigenous Peoples. Instead of a celebration, we had to tweak it and revise it for healing and recovery. Now, how do you deal with the empty space at the church? There is supposed to be a body, supposed to be a coffin. So we consulted Reverend Father Hector Villamil, the Catholic priest, the parish priest, and I was working with my colleagues in the latest Summer Heritage Society, particularly the president of the society at that time, Leo Almeria, who is an interior designer. So we were negotiating with the priest, our indigenous belief system. There were no bodies, and people were all confused. So we decided that to put everything together and put things in order, we will have to put a Holy Mass on the 40th day, which is a significant day in the funeral cycle for the Waray people. It's a community that has very elaborate funeral rituals with a table and a floral wreath, candles, and a clay pot, which is an indigenous artifact, an indigenous prop, a clay pot. Okay, we put things together. There are no bodies. They're missing, or they have already been buried somewhere along the streets, islands that where streets intersect, or by the shore. We put this up so that there would be something in that empty space. There is also an earthen jar where the names of the dead would be placed, the pieces of paper, and it is important to name them, to be prayed for there. So people were able to cry. So we cried. We all cried. Organizers were also crying. We let our tears flow. This is my friend, Laura Augusto, she carried the pot. We were not allowed by the priest to break it inside the church. You had to bring it outside because it is symbolic to cast off negative energy when there is the dead. And when in traditional practice, when the dead body is already taken for burial, then a pot is supposed to be broken. So it cuts the connection between the shadow of death and life. And we had all these ribbons written with the beloved's names. So we could let flow the tears in naming them, remembering them, even those missing. We had a count of about 1,600 in this district of San Jose. There is Laura, and she broke it, and we felt relieved. This is a photograph of the Tagmo, 1 year, but the candle lighting started in the Ika-40. People were so busy with relief goods, queuing up for whatever is needed. And there was no space nor time to grieve. So we thought that we would provide that space and time for grief. Graves and memorials would later be set up here, space at the churchyard. And later on, here in Palo, they would come up with beautiful remembrance. We call that lapida, with their names, families, same family names in a row. And the crosses in one cemetery north of Tacloban. There are no names at the time. Now there are names, but it is not really that. There are no dead bodies under the crosses. They just represent the persons who have died. And memorials built. There are now 7 memorials. This is in Santa Rita. This looks like a tree because trees save people when people clambered on them and held on to trees. This is also the hand of the higher being that saved lives of a family. This is a wonderful monument in Tanawan Leyte, done by Kublai Milan. It's a government project, beautiful. This is about 60 feet long in length, and height of the waves is 14 feet. This is the government project. Those 3 are government projects, these 3. This is the Memorial of Tacloban City, organized by the government. And this is the remaining ship that became a monument, and it's still there. We had a chance to tayo, to light that the spirits be guided with the light, candlelight, to light their way through darkness. This is a private initiative, the Yolanda Candlelight Memorial. After 1 year, people were lighting candles in the streets, very spontaneous, highly organized also. There, the lighting of candles. And after a year, we had a very special visit. It was very significant to be visited for someone who cares. It was Pope Francis, who came over and wore the same raincoat, very thin, like everybody. So I was there at the 4th row during the Holy Mass, there, about tens of thousands photographed. In this picture, you see the people attending Holy Mass with the Pope in the papal blessings, the bendition upon the survival pilgrims and the super typhoon ravaged homeland uplifted our spirit. Our land, our homeland, everything around us, the physical space, has been sacralized by the dead and the blessings. Now, what happened 8 years after? There are new rituals. Now there would always be candles along the streets in the islands because there were corpses that were piled up here. So they are remembered, and the spaces where they were laid down before the burial. There, these are the island streets, and the ship has become a monument. There, with flowers, people visiting. The first year, when it all started was kind of strange. It was also eerie. But I personally felt the grief as well as the relief. It was a very, very strange feeling the first time that I ever felt that. It's like New Year, but it also felt like All Souls Day. And now we have these activities 8 years after. There is a mass along the street, especially it's a pandemic, so people are distanced going on. This happened just last week by the houses there. Although there are organized efforts, there is a lot of spontaneous activity. Here we have the names at the Lowan Memorial listed. This is not a permanent list, but they're always listed there. Totaling official count 6,200, but we think there are more. So people light candles in spaces where the dead were supposed to have been laid on, and also the streets. And now people feel fun being after a lockdown. So you have children, people of all ages are out in the parks. This is at that one was at the Haiyan Memorial. This one is in San Jose, one of the worst hit. This 1,000 people drowned in the surge, and they built makeshift altars at the streets, very organized by the barangay, by the village councils. This is the list of the dead in that community. There are prayers, and there are placards like this with flowers and purple ribbons there. Now they're just the time away after prayers and interacting socially, expressing express sympathies and remembrances for the neighbors who died. Oh, 23. Okay, there were 23. But our count to include this area was 1,600 at the time of the 40th day, but later there were more, about 2,000. Now, this is interesting because they set up a very delicate, precious kind of installation, and they would have different lights. So you have purple, pink, every second, every moment the lights change. This is in an island in intersections of the streets. Look at the candles and the lamps that they created out of brown paper there with flowers, with artificial flowers. Because in this island at the street intersection, there were also the dead piled up. So this is the design of the lamp out of brown paper with flowers. This is all over in San Jose district. San Jose there, St. Joseph at the center, surrounded by lamps, candle lamps. This is in another town. This is in Palo. It's Granite Monument. And here we have Our Lady of Hope. She is a new aspect of Blessed Mother Mary, Our Lady of Hope, based on the narratives of children. There were children who reported that a woman saved them. And the Archdiocese commissioned a famous religious sculptor to design the new Mama Mary, Our Lady of Hope, saving a child, the child Jesus. This is the memorial with the waves. And there are figures of people helping each other, volunteers helping people, and the doves at the topmost spiral. There are candles there behind the figures, because this is also another of those islands that has been sacralized.
Joycie, I don't want to interrupt, but we don't have much time now. If you can conclude it, perfect.
Yeah,
thank you.
This is the conclusion. So I put together these thoughts that in the process of coming to terms with this extreme life event that really shocked us, There are glimmers of hope and flames of faith through the celebrations of love. They are creative, luminous, indomitable expressions of the Filipino Visayan spirit. The islands of Samar and Leyte. Thank you very much.
That was very much touching, and thank you very much, Joycie, for your talk and sharing your experience and insight. I'm sure I have questions. I'm sure that other participants have questions, but let's see, let's have Mounir's experience on post-war, post-conflict, actually, situation. Mounir has a background in architecture, and he did his PhD in Portugal, and his architecture was in University of Aleppo. So thank you very much, Joycie. I invite Mounir to share your talk and experience with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Good evening to those in the Philippines. Greetings to Farnaz, to the panelists, Joycie and Leila, and to the audience. It is such an honor for me to be here today and to have the opportunity to talk about the Syrian intangible heritage and the attempts to restore and preserve it. Syria has a rich and diverse cultural heritage associated with different regions, religions, and ethnicities. It has a population of over 20 million. As we can see on the map, the population is concentrated on the western coastal part, the capital, Damascus, the commercial capital, Aleppo, and the Euphrates Valley, while the density falls in the center where the Syrian desert is. Syria's population is described as a mosaic of different cultures and ethnicities. Pre-war data reported that the majority is Sunni Muslim. In addition, there are other affiliations of Islam, Christianity of different sects, Druze, and Jewish communities. While the main cities of Aleppo and Damascus feature a religious mix, there are less mixed regions, including a Kurdish concentration to the north, Alawites by the coast, Ismailis in the city of Hama, Salamieh near Hama, Christians in Wadi al-Nasara, and Druze to the south near the Lebanese and Jordanian borders. 16 living languages could be found in Syria prior to the war. Arabic is the official language, featuring regional dialects. Kurmanji Kurdish is spoken by 9%. In addition, there is Armenian, Turkish, and other minority languages, including the classic Aramaic and Syriac, the former being spoken in the village of Ma'lula, and the latter is the liturgical language of Syriac Christians. Also, English and French are taught at school. Syrian intangible heritage is commonly categorized into three domains. The first is customs and traditions, which includes the oral traditions and expressions, cultural practices, knowledge about nature, traditional healthcare, and religious and social rituals and events. The second is the traditional artistic expressions, including traditional music, dance, storytelling, poetry, shadow theater, etc. The third is craftsmanship, such as copperwork, glass blowing, laurel soap production, Damascene brocade, stonemasonry, etc. When it comes to preservation and safeguarding, several competent bodies under the Ministry of Culture are in charge. In parallel, several ministries, NGOs, local communities, and associations are involved in programming, training, and documentation. However, despite the ratification of UNESCO's 2003 Convention for the Safeguarding of the Intangible Cultural Heritage, there is still no designated Directorate for Intangible Cultural Heritage under the Ministry of Culture, and no clear national strategy put in place for safeguarding. In 2013, 97 of Syria's cultural sites were already inside areas of conflict and displacement. At present, there are 710 damaged historic sites and buildings according to the interactive map of damaged archaeological sites provided by the General Directorate of Antiquities and Museums. Intangible heritage was deeply affected by the war, especially because of the destruction that hit several historic centers around the country, where religious rituals and commercial and cultural practices took place. Syria's World Heritage Sites have suffered severe damages, leading to putting them on the danger list in 2013. The tentative list has also suffered destruction, random excavation, and looting. Around 80% of old Aleppo was affected by the war, including the old souks, the Umayyad Mosque, and the monumental citadel. In Palmyra, the temples of Bel and Bel Shamin, the monumental arch and tower tombs were destroyed. The ancient villages became conflict zones, archaeological repositories were stolen, statues and tombs were vandalized, and artifacts were excavated and stolen. Several monuments were affected in Busra, including Al-Omari Mosque, Monk Mahera's convent, and the pagan temple known as Sarir bint al-Malik. The southern eastern tower of Khark de Chevalier was destroyed and its northern facade was damaged. The old city of Damascus suffered slight damages, resulting in a temporary suspension of some commercial, cultural, and religious activities. The destruction of historic centers and the shift of attention to life necessities took a toll at cultural practices. The destruction of stores and workshops, such as the case of Aleppo, led to the suspension of commercial activities and their migration to new locations around the city. Inaccessibility to historic and cultural centers has led to the suspension of cultural events and festivals. Similarly, numerous mosques and churches were destroyed, resulting in halting religious rituals. Death and displacement also affected the continuity of intangible heritage. Mortality has resulted in a break in cultural transmission, with the loss of traditions passed down orally, as well as undocumented traditional skills, while displacement has resulted in a drain of traditional craftsmen, mason workers, musicians, etc., which, in addition to the lack of demand for non-essential goods due to economic difficulties, this has led to the extension of some traditional crafts, such as the traditional garment production, and the Kaishani traditional factory in Damascus was closed. Demographic change also affected diversity and social cohesion, with the loss of components, including more than two-thirds of the Christian population and most of the remaining Jews. Traditional music and dance were banned under the rule of extremists. Outside the government control, musicians were not able to participate in musical events since they are commonly sponsored by public institutions. The war has also led to drastic cultural changes that need to be observed and documented. While some traditions, such as the Horani popular music in Daraa, usually played at weddings, was discontinued, some were revived, like the Kurdish popular culture and language. The traditional methods of storing food, known as Mounir in spoken Arabic, were also revived to combat food shortages. A new phenomenon of writing songs and appropriating traditional songs to have political lyrics that defy oppression or commemorate events has emerged. Additionally, new cultural components were added. For instance, the Russian language is now being taught at school. It is also expected that recent demographic changes would soon demonstrate new patterns and sociocultural dynamics. The destruction of places of collective memory, where cultural practices took place, caused a trauma related to the drastic alteration and deformation of the sense of place, and the discontinuity of social practices that once shaped a sense of a collective identity, a sense of belonging. People cannot wait to resume these, as they are associated with a sense of normality that is lost. Beside this trauma, and as a consequence to the sense that identity is targeted by other ethnic groups, sectarian social divisions floated to the surface. Heritage became associated to groups, it became a reason for division, and a means for identification used to exclude and discriminate. Similarly, attitudes towards heritage has changed, admitting that Syrians did not quite paid attention to preserve and safeguard this legacy before the war, as there were numerous cases of vandalization, violation, and irregular excavation. These phenomena have aggravated during the war and escalated to the deliberate targeting of historic buildings and archives as a form of punishment to adversaries. The question that arises accordingly is how can the Syrian intangible heritage contribute to social recovery and resilience, both in the case of Syrians inside and in diaspora? Not much attention has been paid to the potential contribution to heritage to reconciliation and peace-building processes. This is currently one of my research interests. Although my focus as an architect is on built historic centers, being located at the heart of cities, they can be employed as common grounds. They can be activated in ways to become more inclusive and turned into gathering points. The reconstruction of historic centers and the reactivation of economic, cultural, and social networks can have a major contribution to social recovery and resilience. Thus should not be considered as a luxury, but a necessity and a post-war priority that promotes diversity and social cohesion and tolerance among different groups. During the war, there were undeniable local efforts to raise awareness among society and to safeguard archaeological sites, archives, museums, and artifacts, and minimize losses and damages. UNESCO also launched a project in 2014 entitled Emergency Safeguarding of the Syrian Cultural Heritage to monitor and mitigate the damage and loss of cultural heritage. However, there are still no legislations issued in regards to cultural heritage, despite renewing the ratification of the UNESCO Convention in 2011 and 2017. In 2015, the Syria Trust for Development documented 100 intangible components and published 38 of them in the first volume of the book entitled The Intangible Syrian Cultural Heritage. This book was dedicated to skills related to craftsmanship. In order to resume religious practices, which was considered essential to recovery and social resilience, priority was given to the reconstruction of mosques funded by the Ministry of Endowment, as well as local and international donors from Islamic countries and foundations. Similarly, the reconstruction of churches was carried out by local experts and funding from European churches and organizations. Religious rituals were resumed consequently, generating a sense of normality desperately needed. The ongoing reconstruction of the souks of Aleppo is slowly enabling some of the owners to reopen their stores and resume activity. Nowadays, almost 4 years after the partial suspension of armed conflict and the reconstruction and rehabilitation of some areas, festivals and cultural events are gradually returning to Syrian cities. As much as heritage has a fundamental local value, it is also used in diaspora as a means of connection to roots and origins, as much as to host communities, that advances integration and stability. Syrian migrants and refugees carried their cultural practices with them, such as the Syrian cuisine, music, and traditional crafts, and introduced them to their host communities. Cultural heritage was used as a tool for integration, social inclusion, and cultural exchange. In 2016, UNESCO funded a research project entitled Survey on Intangible Cultural Heritage of Displaced Syrians. It comprised 60 interviews conducted with displaced Syrians and members of host communities to share their experiences about safeguarding cultural heritage. The findings demonstrated that heritage preserved the sense of belonging of displaced Syrians. It helped them mitigate social and psychological and economic difficulties and promoted intercultural communication and appreciation among host communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mounir, for your wonderful presentation. I'm sure that we will come back to you during the comments and questions. But as you know, I already mentioned that unfortunately, because of the very personal, actually difficult times that Professor Chris had in the last 24 hours, he cannot join us. So instead, I thought, and the research team, we thought to share with you some of the findings of our own research. And so I would like to invite Leila, who is joining us from Tunis, to share some of the finding with you and to have your comments on that as well. That will be perfect. Leila, would you please share and start your work? Thank you very much. Leila is a social entrepreneur and the director of the Bluefish Consulting.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon. Well, first, condolences to Chris and Madame Farnaz. Thank you for your trust. As she said, I'm a social entrepreneur, so I'm the least academic person here. But I was very happy to be part of this project. And despite lockdowns, curfews, coup d'etats, travel plans changing, we managed to do important work that I'm happy to share today. So as Madame Farnaz explained, the project is funded by the Royal Academy of Engineering with research partners, and we focused on 2 countries, and today I'm going to present the results from Tunisia. So we chose 2 heritage focus areas, shrines and shrine culture, and also civil society and preservation activism. Those 2 areas have been impacted by the revolution, and in fact, during our field survey, it was also tricky to choose the wording, because we are a nation famous for disagreeing and conspiracy theory. So some people call it a revolution, some people don't want to call it a revolution, some people think it's positive, some people think it's negative. So we were choosing our words very carefully. For the shrines, we interviewed 3 shrines, and I would like to thank Zainab Takuti. She's with us today, and she did most of the field work. With the shrines, we worked on 3 shrines, 2 in the Medina of Tunis, in the old town of Tunis, the capital, and 1 shrine is in a city called Sidi Bou Said in the northern suburbs of the capital. And with civil society, we interacted with a few NGOs, but I will share the results of 4 today here. So the first and maybe an important shrine is Sidi Mahrez. So Sidi is literally master in Arabic, and that's how we call our saints. Sidi Mahrez is located in the heart of the Medina of Tunis. So you can see architecturally has not been touched through the years, and it's also part of the municipality of Tunis logo. Inside, it's an impressive shrine. This shrine, and maybe because it's located within urban quarter, it stayed open through the political changes, and a lot of people still visit. Maybe it was protected, as some people we interviewed said that it was protected by the community around it. And in fact, still the culture of donating, of bringing food to the shrine for the needy to eat is still continuing. Decreased a little bit during COVID, but it's still present. There has been a big talk about the halal and haram of visiting shrines after the revolution. Some people argue that it's polyism, and it was. This is why this threatened the visits to some shrines. And in fact, the shrine of Sidi Bou Said has been impacted tremendously. In fact, it has been completely burnt right after the revolution. Of course, it was a very big shock, because the little town of Sidi Bou Said is known to be very picturesque, very touristic, very calm. It's where everybody has to go when they visit Tunis. And the burning of this shrine was a big shock to everyone. And in fact, a lot of people gathered and marched from the shrine to the presidential palace in Carthage to request for the protection of the shrines. In fact, it was civil society, 100% civil society that reconstructed and repainted and put it back as it used to be, and are still protecting it until today. So it was out of, as people we interviewed, it was out of political orientations. Some new political parties after the revolution feel that the whole shrine culture is a threat. This is how it looks today. There has been a growth in the Salafism after the revolution, and this made questioned the religious rightness of visiting shrines, and but it was a big culture which had almost a way of life with its own mysticism and music and way of life and donating. It was a whole philosophy that is today becoming more and more, as many we interviewed told us, it's becoming more of a show rather than a belief, a spiritual feeling. Of course, many are saying young people today are busy on their phones and do not have a lot of spirituality. Of course, people will have also mentioned that people use the shrines to, yes, Farnaz?
The slides are not moving. So we don't know if it's on purpose or...
Let me stop and reshare.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yes, thank you.
I don't know why. Thank you, Farnaz. Do you see? Is it moving now?
Yes, it's moving now. Thank you.
Okay. Maybe I'll just show a little bit the previous slide.
Thank you, Elia. So this is Sidi Mahrez with the logo of the city of Tunis, in case you did not see it. And this is the shrine of Sidi Bou Said and how it was burned. And this is some activists who are trying to preserve it. And this is how it looks today. People have also, and we interviewed, mentioned that people are using the shrines more for political reasons, but also, of course, many said that it's part of their heritage, it's part of their way of life of their ancestors, and they feel obliged to protect it. Another shrine that we worked on is Sidi Ali Lasmar. He's based in the city of Tunis, and they are very famous for a dance called Stambeli, which is of African origin. The shrine Sidi Ali Lasmar is a saint of African descent.
And in fact, people we interviewed in the shrine told us that there were many shrines in the Medina that are not even listed. And in fact, during the Bourguiba's era, our first president after the revolution, because the government needed money, he sold many shrines, which are today private property. And in fact, Sidi Ali Lasmar, the shrine itself was sold for 150,000 dinars. But now people of the community are claiming it back and trying to restore it, which is a little bit tricky. But it was also, the shrine was, sorry, I forgot one point. I'm looking for it here. Yes, the shrine was itself, there were many prisons in the Medina for the Black community, and this shrine was one of them. So it had many lives. The building had many lives. And there's a lot of work from civil society today and people who are followers of Sidi Ali Lasmar, who are trying to revive it the way it used to be. In 2013, the gentleman who you see in the picture, who is now the protector of the shrine, was beaten up by some Salafists, and who called him a grave worshipper. He had to escape to France for 3 years and came back, and he's now leading an NGO that is for the protection and the preservation of the whole culture around the shrine, including the Stambeli dance. These are the 3 shrines that we investigated. And then I'm going to change topics and move to civil society, the impact of the revolution on civil society. Of course, I have to mention that there was almost no civil society before the revolution. So most of the NGOs that existed before the revolution were very much linked to the government, and they worked closely with them. After the revolution, there has been an explosion of associations acting in many parts, in every field in different parts of the country, taking over many critical issues that especially, and heritage, of course, is one of them. So we interviewed 4 NGOs. Actually, no, Zainab interviewed 5 or 6 NGOs. I'm going to share 4 here. ASM is the most important because it's the Association of Medina Preservation. It was initiated, it's one of the NGOs that was initiated before the revolution in 1967. And it's mainly for the preservation of the built heritage of the old city of Tunis. So they work with very close collaboration with the municipality of Tunis. And in fact, before the revolution, all their funding was coming mainly from the municipality. And of course, you can imagine after the revolution, they have, they're not the only actors. They used to be the only ones, but after the revolution, there are many new NGOs with the new spirit, with the new ways of looking at repurposing, and this is making it a little bit difficult for ISM to withstand its previous positioning. Now it's in one way they try to work with other civil society actors, but at the same time they have inherited a long history of way of work, which is a little bit administrative, and it's a challenge to maintain it today with the new post-revolution activism. The second NGO is Cartagena. It was initiated after the revolution. It's a group of young people who are really contributing a lot to reviving the historical urban space in a very cool way. So treasure hunting, artisan experiences, urban photography. So it's not, they are passionate about heritage, but they're really looking at it in a fresh way, and sharing a lot of storytelling about intangible heritage that's making it a lot more accessible, and maybe making it more accessible to everyone, because before the revolution, heritage was a little bit elitist, and preservation work was a government matter. So now it's young people who are taking on the role of preserving, documenting, and a very important project that they have led. And it's 100% the idea of Cartagena Association, the project Medinapedia. They themselves uploaded more than 300 articles on Wikipedia about different historical buildings in the Medina of Tunis, in I think 6 or 7 languages. And they have even uploaded some Wikipedia pages on buildings that have ceased to exist. And then they went on to create QR codes for signs on buildings that you can scan, and which will identify the language of your phone and take you to the Wikipedia page, so you can find out about the building. So it's really a fresh new way to preserve and to keep our heritage alive. Another also youth NGO is
Leila, just sorry to interrupt. If you can conclude very quickly, because we can have our questions, and you can.
Okay, I'll be faster. So Collective Creative is another youth NGO, also initiated after the revolution. Their objective is not really preservation, but they're trying to reinterpret the historical urban space through DJing, light festival, collaborative studios, to give it new meaning to youth and attract a new dynamic that will keep the historical urban quarter alive. And last slide, finally, Rashidia is a very important NGO that was initiated before the revolution, 1934. It was initiated for the preservation of Tunisian traditional music. In fact, it was founded at a time where under the French occupation, it was no longer trendy to listen to Tunisian music. So they started it out of fear that we will lose our musical heritage. Today they are famous for preserving and giving classes in especially Tunisian Andalusi music heritage. And they are also, I think, finding it challenging today with the new scene of very creative, innovative youth NGOs, and some collaboration attempts have been initiated, but it was very, very hard to sustain with the pre-revolution privileges they had, and today's maybe more attentive civil society. This is it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leila, for sharing some of the findings of our own research.